juga aja kayaknya, Kak.
Hi girls, halo semuanya.
Halo, apa kabar semuanya? Gimana kelas-kelasnya?
Halo.
Halo.
Halo. Kalian kalau misalnya bisa tolong nyalain kamera ya. If you girls can, please turn on your cameras.
Yes. Kita bakal sambil nunggu yang lain ya, guys.
Yeah.
Nanti kalau udah ramai baru kita mulai.
Should I turn on the Christmas music again?
Yes.
Sambil kita tungguin yang lain. Ini kelas Yes Indo ya? Atau semuanya udah balik?
Kayaknya sudah.
Oke. Hi girls, hi semuanya. Kalian kalau bisa tolong nyalain kamera ya.
Kayak kita sekarang.
Hello.
Sebentar stop share ya.
Iya, Kak.
Oke.
Oh yeah, I can see everyone.
Hai guys, kalau misalnya kalian bisa turn on your video, please turn on your video. Sambil nunggu mungkin bisa say hi juga ke Kak Amanda lewat chat, or you want to say directly also can.
Halo semua.
Halo.
Kak. Langsung banyak nih. Man, kayaknya kamu ada banyak fans deh. Jadi malu.
Banyak banget.
Banyak banget. Catherine says hi, Denise says hi, Fadia,
Mahra, Zahra, Jocelyn, Fariska, Maureen, Gina, and everyone. Banyak banget.
Banyak banget.
Udah ini. Fan club kamu besar ini, Man.
Catherine says hi, Denise says Fadia,
Mahra, Zahra, Jocelyn, Fariska, Maureen, Gina, and everyone. Banyak banget.
Banyak banget.
Udah ini.
Aku delay ya?
Besar ini, Man.
Catherine says hi, Denise says Fadia,
Mahra, Zahra, Jocelyn, Fariska. Why can I hear myself?
There's a delay ya, somewhere.
Kayaknya udah ramai, kita mau mulai aja kali ya, Kak?
Ya. Should we start now? Oke.
Ya, Flo, silakan.
Oke, hi everyone. Apa kabar? Kita sekarang udah hari ketiga, berarti sekarang udah hari keempat, salah. Habis itu sekarang kita talk show yang kedua. So yeah, I hope you're all enjoying your time so far in the Winter Club. And before we're gonna start, let me introduce myself. So my name is Florencia and I'll be your moderator today. Jadi kalau misalnya kalian bisa tolong turn on your video ya. And today's workshop bakal santai banget. Jadi kalau misalnya kalian mau tanya pertanyaan, nggak usah takut. So yeah, if you girls want to ask any question, please don't hesitate to ask. So yeah, hari ini we have a really cool guest speakers today, and everyone please give the warmest welcome and say hi to Kak Amanda. Hai Kak Amanda.
Hai, Kak.
Hai Kak Amanda.
Okay, so let me briefly introduce Kak Amanda. So she is a public figure, actress, dan juga sekarang dia lagi kerja di bidang STEM loh guys, keren banget kan? And she is currently working at Gojek as a corporate analyst. Wow. So yeah, Kak Amanda will give us more details about preparing her journey to university and a bit on her career life juga nanti. So stay tuned. Okay. Jadi seperti talk sebelumnya, we also already prepared prize for you guys who ask exciting and fun question. So at the end of the session, we're gonna choose like 2 best question and we'll give something from us. Jadi silakan banget ya guys untuk tanya pertanyaan. Okay. So yeah, as usual, we're gonna use Slido for you girls to ask Amanda a question. And we're gonna send the link through the Zoom chat. So please make sure that you see it, or you can also scan the QR code here and go to slido.com and put the event code as workshop 24 December. Jadi kalian bisa nanya langsung lewat Slido, nanti kita bakal send linknya di chat box, atau enggak scan QR code-nya sekarang, atau ke slido.com, tulis workshop 24 Desember. Yay, okay guys. So let's start today's talk. Sebelum kita mulai, maybe I want to remind you guys. Jadi nanti kalau di tengah-tengah aku sama Kak Amanda lagi ngobrol, terus kalian ada pertanyaan, feel free banget untuk nanya langsung. Jadi kalian bisa pakai raise hand feature. Nanti aku bakal panggil nama kalian, and you guys can ask directly to Kak Amanda. Yay. Okay. Let's start. So yeah, today's workshop will be very chill, jadi relax saja ya guys. Yes, aku nggak sabar banget. Okay, so without further ado, let's start our today talk with our amazing and inspiring speaker. Hi Kak Amanda, how are you?
Halo, I'm good. Kok aku jadi malu banget sih introduce kayak gitu?
Yeah, gimana sekarang Kak? Maybe before we're gonna start, maybe you can just briefly introduce your major or education background.
Okay, my major. Okay, so I went to an international school most of my life, which sort of dictate my path untuk kuliah di luar negeri. Aku kuliah di Inggris di King's College London, ngambil jurusan digital culture, which is the study of the internet and how the digital realm impacts society dan culture dan people essentially. Jadi how the relationship between humans, kita dan the digital, the internet, computers, etc. So that's what I took in uni. Now aku took when I graduated university, I worked in BI, the business intelligence for Shopee. And then setelah aku di sana untuk beberapa bulan, aku pindah ke Gojek, and now I am in Gojek as a senior analyst for the corporate strategy team, which is sort of like Gojek's internal consulting team.
Wow, that's really cool, Kak. And yeah, you mentioned that you are working in STEM field. Like, how did you figure out your interest in STEM, like at the first place?
Oh, how did I figure out? Jadi sebenarnya aku dari dulu tuh suka banget. So from when I was younger, I've always loved STEM subjects. Not so much sciences sebenarnya, aku nggak begitu suka science. Karena I'm just not good at it. I guess it's not natural to me. But I've always loved math. Aku tuh suka banget sama matematika. Give me algebra, give me calculus, give me standard deviation, and I'm like, that's my jam. So I've always loved maths. Jadi waktu aku pertama kali masuk high school, I've always wanted to do this is my thing. I want to do maths, and I've loved computers. I love design technology. Jadi I want to do computer science. Gitu. But when I moved to my new school, aku tuh ada obstacle in my path in which the teacher did. Oh no. Sorry, my Sorry guys, technical difficulties. My laptop tiba-tiba mau mati. I thought I was charging it.
It's okay banget.
So yeah, I wanted to do higher maths because that's the path that I needed to do my computer science course. But because I just moved schools, the level of maths that they wanted me to be at, I wasn't. But at the same time, mereka tuh nggak percaya dengan aku, gitu. Sedangkan mereka bisa percaya tuh sama teman-teman aku. In fact, they thought I should have been in lower maths, jadi kayak math studies, gitu. Like kalau I did the IB, right? So in the IB itu tuh ada studies standard math, studies standard higher math. And they told me I should have been in studies. And jadi aku tuh pindah dari my middle school ke my high school with a couple of people, and they're all men. And I don't want it to sound like whatever, tapi my male friends got it easier in a sense that they were able to go to standard. I had to like convince the teacher to let me move to standard because they didn't believe that I could. Tapi what ended up happening was, ya udah, karena I had that hindrance, aku akhirnya convince the teacher that I at least standard lah, jangan sampai studies, because I loved maths. Kayak I don't understand why they don't think aku bisa excel gitu. So I did it, like I did standard, and I proved. Jadi I had I don't want to say a bet with the teacher, tapi I told him kalau emang aku nilainya tertinggi di kelas, you owe.
Wait, I think there's like connection problem with Kak Amanda.
Iya, kayaknya connection problem dari Kak Amanda. Kita tunggu dulu ya. Padahal lagi seru ceritanya tadi.
Iya.
Sebentar ya, guys.
Tunggu sebentar
Sorry
ya,
guys,
Yes, it's okay, Kak.
wifi aku mati. So my laptop is on, tapi wifi-nya mati, ngeselin sih. So now I'm on my device. So where was I? Jadi, aku tuh bilang ke gurunya kalau emang aku dapat nilai tertinggi di kelas, you should buy everyone in the class pizza. And that's what ended up happening. I got one of the highest grades, and the teacher ended up buying the whole class pizza karena because he didn't believe that I could do it. Nah, tapi what happened there was when I was looking for university choices, yang tadinya I wanted to do computer science, more STEM related, specifically coding gitu. I had a problem karena a lot of my subjects that I took in high school too very humanities related. So I took higher history, I took English language literature, and I took economics, very writing based. That became an issue. Karena when you want to do computer science, you have to either do computer science or a maths related subject. But my maths, even though it was good in terms of nilai, tapi it wasn't my focus when I was in high school. So I had to really kayak nyari benar-benar jurusan yang aku suka, tapi bukan yang aku paling suka in that sense, you know what I mean? So I scoured the internet dan aku ketemulah jurusan aku, digital culture. Digital culture sebenarnya it's very humanities based in a sense that itu tuh very qualitative analysis, karena kita menganalisa impact of the internet towards people, towards societies, towards cultures. Tapi di jurusan itu kita juga diajarin cara pakai R, which is it's essentially like big data processing, like Excel, but for larger sets of data. And then I also did Python. So they introduced me to Python, and I loved it. Gitu sih. So I guess sebenarnya it's sort of a blessing in disguise karena I got the best of both worlds. Karena aku juga, not only did I develop sort of the skills that I wanted to get, I guess not to the extent people did in computer science, I guess. Tapi to a certain level, I got what I wanted to try and do. Tapi to another extent, aku juga developed this qualitative skill of analysis that now that I'm working in corporate strategy, I found that it's very useful to be able to balance both qualitative and quantitative skill sets, gitu sih, analytical skill sets.
Ya. Ya, berarti kayak Kak Amanda tuh emang udah ada interest in maths tuh dari kecil ya. Habis itu bahkan kakak sempat prove the professor that they think they are wrong. Kayak kakak tuh emang ada passion in maths, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. And also like digital culture is about mix between art and also like digital thing. Yeah. Oh, and also maybe since a lot of rookies kan lagi deciding which university and major they want to take, like, do you have any advice for them, like in discovering their passion? Since sometimes it's kind of hard for us to decide whether it is really our passion, our interest, or just like we are capable in it. Yeah.
Okay, jadi sebenarnya I think we need to dispel ada sebenarnya the notion atau ide bahwa passion adalah a calling. Passion adalah sesuatu yang akan datang ke kita, that's going to be this whole big sort of situation. But that's not what passion is. Sebenarnya passion doesn't necessarily have to be a profession. Passion doesn't necessarily have to be your career. Passion doesn't have to be just one thing. Untuk some people, passion is a continuous journey. Karena your passion continuously changes as you grow older. Karena your interests when you're younger and when you're now changes. Kayak when I was younger, I liked Barbie. I was very passionate about Barbie. Kayak and like sandiwara gitu ya between two Barbies. But now that I'm older, that's not really, you know what I mean? That's not really something that I'm interested in. When I was younger, my sister and I tuh kayak berjam-jam main Barbie, playing pretend gitu-gitu. And that to a certain extent is a passion, right? Jadi I think we need to sort of stop thinking of a passion as something yang once I find it, this is it. I'm going to be happy for the rest of my life. It's not like that. It's about trying new things and exploring. And for people I'm trying to find kayak jurusan or trying to figure out what they want to do, I think sometimes kalau lagi ngomongin kuliah, sometimes it has to be pragmatic. Soalnya for some, to a certain extent, you want to do well, you know. And for some people, passion is something that they do well in. You know what I mean? In a sense that, for example, kayak sebenarnya my passion, like I love maths, but not gonna lie, I think the reason why aku suka matematika is because I'm good at it. I don't, you know, so my passion comes from, because I'm very achievement oriented, if that makes sense. So my passion is because I know that my passion in maths comes from the fact that, like,
you love it.
I like it. You know, it makes sense to me, but it's not for everyone. Gitu sih. Jadi I think, like for you guys, you guys are still deciding what your passions are. Don't be too hard on yourself, because like sometimes you find it now or you find it along the way. As long as you know that kayak sebenarnya untuk things like jurusan gini-gini, it's about being pragmatic and understanding both sort of the demand of the industry, like yeah. Sorry.
I think it's okay. Yeah, just continue.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah. I'm getting feedback as well. Sorry, just in case I'm like hearing myself. Tapi aku takut. Is anyone hearing double?
No.
Okay. Jadi I think when it comes to passion, it's about being when it comes to jurusan, it's about being pragmatic. Sometimes you need to balance like what you're good at versus the demand of the industry versus also what you like to do. And just because, and for some, like again, for some people, passion to a journey, jadi they go through life like trying to find it, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, don't be stuck in thinking that your jurusan has to be your passion if you don't know what your passion is yet, you know?
Yeah.
Tapi kalau emang udah tahu, good for you, you know? Kayak for some people, they're so stuck in thinking bahwa mereka tuh harus ngelakuin sesuatu yang mereka passionate at. But I think to a certain extent, passion tuh juga bisa jadi hobi, you know.
Ya,
So
ya bener banget sih Kak. Kayak aku setuju banget yang kayak Kak bilang, passion tuh bisa selalu berubah. Kayak as long as you try and then you figure out like which is your true passion that you are really interested in. So ya jangan stop untuk mencoba terus sih, yang penting.
yeah, for sure. Always keep trying to find it. You know what I mean? Or not necessarily find it juga. Like always keep trying to explore new things. Karena though you might not necessarily find that one passion yang kayak you see other people have, trying new things too will open a lot of windows for you.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
very true.
and you want that. You want, if anything, you want opportunities more. Like you want opportunities as much as you want to find your passion, kan?
Ya, kalau kita nggak coba malah kita nggak bakal tahu kan. Kayak,
Exactly.
ya, right. Ya. Oh ya, sebelum kita lanjut, maybe I want to remind you guys. So if you have any question, just go to Slido and ask question. So we're gonna go back there at the end of the talk. Okay. And also, Kak, tadi you also mentioned that you go to London, right, for your university, and it's very far from home. Like, can you share your experience transition from high school to university, like how to adapt with the new environment? Kayak London kan jauh banget dari rumah.
I think kalau in terms of like academics, I was very privileged to have been introduced to the IB curriculum. Jadi the fact that I did the IB, the fact that I did the International Baccalaureate really prepared me untuk the academic side of university. Tapi what sort of living at home, like tinggal di rumah and going like, and sekolah as in high school, middle school, primary school, what that did prepare you for is living in another country sebenarnya. Karena jadi aku tuh kayak 18 tahun tinggal di Indonesia. Tiba-tiba waktu I turned 18, went to uni, I moved abroad. Dan aku thankfully aku tuh ada kakak aku yang kayak ngajarin aku gimana cara pakai public transport di London and all these things. Tapi it was a hard thing to adapt to, like in terms of moving and living there. Kalau di Jakarta, it's very comfortable. You know what I mean? I have my family. Aku punya kamar sendiri di sana. I was sharing kayak the first time ever. I have 7 roommates. I have a kitchen that I shared with 7 other people. Kamar aku itu ukurannya, I want to say 1,5 kali 2,5 meter, dan ada toiletnya di kamar itu. Jadi it was literally a shoebox. Dan kayak di toilet tuh aku bisa sikat gigi sambil keramas if I wanted to, sambil duduk di toilet gitu. Karena itu kayak kamar mandi itu sekecil itu. And it was like I had to adapt to that sort of kayak living with 7 people. Yang sebenarnya dari ada yang dari Inggris, ada yang dari China, ada yang dari so many other countries yang kayak, you know, it's overwhelming karena I meet so many new people. Tapi ya, after a while, it got easier karena sebenarnya aku ya belajar jadi independent, you know, cook for yourself. But once you start feeling independent, you'll feel at home karena you feel like you can take care of yourself. Gitu sih.
Ya, bener banget. Jadi kayak awalnya kayak susah-susah dulu, tapi as you get along tuh pasti bisa aja gitu gak sih?
Pasti bisa aja. Just believe in yourself. Dan find a comfortable group of friends.
Oh iya, penting banget sih kayak cari temen.
Penting banget.
Ya, that's true.
Iya. Dan temen yang cocok ya.
Iya. Ya, bener banget. Terus kayak kakak pernah gak kayak ngerasa homesick or ya whatever, kayak misalnya homesick atau apa, kangen rumah?
Sering sih, tapi lebih sering waktu tahun pertama, karena kan itu tahun pertama bener-bener aku sendiri, enggak sendirian juga sih sebenarnya, tapi baru pertama kali pindah. Thankfully di tahun pertama aku tuh tahun ketiganya kakak aku, jadi setiap kali aku homesick, I would go to her and like visit her. And we would hang out, and that would be like that would cure my homesickness karena she is family gitu. Aside juga aku juga suka nelfon mama, papa gitu-gitu sih selama aku 3 tahun di sana. Tapi kalau emang that's not possible, when I'm feeling homesick, what I do is I cook Indonesian food. Jadi aku tuh dari Indonesia bawa kayak saset-sasetan kayak ayam goreng yang kayak kemiri gitu loh. And then saset rendang, all these saset yang aku bawa dari Indonesia, Indomie yang kayak gitu-gitu untuk supaya kalau aku lagi homesick, aku masak dan I'll feel a bit better, you know what I mean?
Ya, menghilangkan
Kayak
rasa kangen.
a thing that banget, soalnya the thing that I missed the most was sort of kayak the community feel that comes with food. Jadi waktu aku masak makanan kan, dan kalau makanan kayak rendang atau rawon gitu-gitu kan porsinya gede kan, I would share it with my roommates. Gitu. Jadi akhirnya I got the community feel and I shared my culture to people yang have never been to Indonesia. So that was also really like enriching experience.
Yeah. Oh, that interesting to know, Kak. And also like talking about uni life, kayak penasaran banget nih Kak, kayak menurut Kakak pasti uni life ada gak biggest challenge that you ever cope with? Yeah. Maybe like stress or whatever. Yeah.
I think one of the biggest challenges itu tuh, so I was diagnosed with GAD, generalized anxiety disorder, when I was in uni. What is that? Jadi kayak it's basically, I don't know how to describe, like anxiety is sort of, it's not always debilitating. Sometimes it can be hard. Tapi essentially my threshold untuk stress is lower than the average human gitu. I get stressed easily and this stress manifests negatively to me. I get anxious and then I can get anxiety attacks, etc. And that was hard karena at first, jadi when I came to uni, I thought I had what's called agoraphobia. Agoraphobia adalah the fear of crowds atau the fear of like too many people. Jadi waktu itu I had a panic attack karena aku lagi selesai kelas, aku keluar kelas, dan itu kan kalau selesai kelas tuh banyak orang kan in the hallway. I had a panic attack. And my teacher saw that, my professor saw it, and she was like, you need to see the counselor. And when I met with and then I made an appointment and had all these things, I was diagnosed with more than just agoraphobia. I was diagnosed with anxiety. And that was hard karena I think ada stigma tentang mental illness and like the lack of mental health di Indonesia yang membuat kita kalau orang lihat orang seperti aku gitu, mereka selalu bilang kayak lo tuh kayak kurang bersyukur deh, you know. And that's really hard on me, and like I had that mentality. Kenapa sih gue as someone yang kayak has been through this much experience and is so lucky in life would be able to go through something so like aku tuh nggak berhak untuk memiliki issue ini, if that makes sense. That's how I felt. I felt that aku kurang bersyukur, aku kurang dekat sama Tuhan. I felt like, you know, all these like internal struggles within oneself. Karena even though my family were supportive, I just felt like I didn't deserve it. Bahwa aku tuh orangnya like I've just been too lucky in life to be able to feel so down about nothing gitu, about like hardships yang when compared to other people is nothing gitu. So that was a really hard challenge trying to understand bahwa sebenarnya anxiety is something that like anxiety nggak milih-milih orang, you know what I mean? It's not like they're like, oh, they're too, you know, like people, it's about like understanding that people go through their own traumas and people go through whatever, and that sort of impacts your mental health gitu. And yeah, that was a journey because I had to learn to cope with sort of re-understanding myself. Karena what I thought was what I thought was just normal wasn't normal, if that makes sense. Karena so an example is kayak I didn't get it in uni. I've always had it. Jadi waktu aku kecil, I remembered when I can't do problems, I would cry, and my parents would be like, "Kenapa aku nangis?" gitu. And I just like, because when I can't do something, when I can't get something right, I panic. And that's sort of the form of my anxiety is caused by feeling like I'm not doing something right, I'm not in control of a particular situation. Gitu sih. So it's about so I had to sort of navigate life through a new lens, because I have to accept bahwa not everything's under my control. Which I think everyone needs to accept. Semua orang harus bisa menerima bahwa dunia ini tuh nggak bisa kita kontrol gitu. But at the same time, the way that I reacted to not being able to control my life is very it's not wrong per se, but it's very is like in a spectrum. It's not the middle ground. Jadi itu agak lebih leaning towards like the panic gitu. And it's about like reevaluating my mindset sih sebenarnya.
Ya bener banget sih. Kayak mental health tuh malah bukan sesuatu yang normal gak sih? Jadi kayak sepanjang hidup tuh nggak semuanya bakal sesuai dengan apa yang kita mau. Jadi kayak misalnya if we cope with stress or anxiety is very normal for us gitu. Yang penting kita treat ourselves properly.
For sure.
Yeah. That's really nice to hear. Oh ya Kak, ini ada satu question dari Carol. So the question is very good. So she is asking how to survive in STEM if we are not strong enough in maths. And how to keep the spirit pas lagi mental breakdown.
Okay, how do you survive in STEM if you're not good at maths? I think math, I get that math sometimes comes, I don't want to say comes naturally to people. Sometimes it just makes more sense to some people. And for some, it's a bit harder. Tapi I feel like if you put the hard work, it will become easier. Everything becomes easier with hard work. Yeah, that's sort of where I come from. And sometimes sebenarnya to survive in like the STEM industry, as much as you need the quantitative skills, jadi everyone in STEM relatively to bisa quantitative analytics. Tapi if you want to exceed and if you want to stand out, it's also about having that balance between quantitative and qualitative. Karena personally di tim aku very high quantitative. Kayak teman-teman aku tuh engineers, teman-teman aku di corporate strategy are like accounting majors and like engineers and like financial majors and all these things yang kayak very heavy maths. Kayak kalau in my course, I stopped doing maths setelah aku lulus high school. And itu aku tuh awalnya minder banget kan when I first started working. And then what I realized was that essentially, yeah, as long as you have the basic understanding of quantitative analytics and you're willing to learn and grow your quant, a way to stand out is to have the qualitative aspect as well. It's about balance. And as for how to sort of take care of your, what was it, mental, intinya kan how to take care of your mental health.
Mental breakdown.
Like the question. Yeah, if you have a mental breakdown, and how do you keep how do you keep your spirits up when you're having a mental breakdown? I think there are steps before you reach a mental breakdown. Jadi mental breakdown itu datang karena you're burnt out, karena you're working way too hard. And I read this actually on Instagram a couple of days ago, bahwa for some diamonds are created with high pressure. Yeah, kan? Like diamonds are created the way that it is because of it's put in because of pressure. On the other hand, bread, dough would only arise if you let it rest. So just because stress for some people can become a benefit, for some you need to take a rest first, and that's okay. I think there are level of stresses jadi ada level of stress yang motivate. Tapi past that level of stress point, you are it becomes a negative impact. It becomes bad stress. And it's I think when you want to keep your spirits up, during a time of like mental distress, you need to sort of figure out what level of stress are you in. Are you the level of stress of the pressure of diamond, where you can benefit from it and become a diamond with the high pressure? Or are you at a level of stress where you're bread, when like dough, where actually any more stress, you're gonna be overworked and you're not gonna be good bread, you know, and therefore you need to rest. Jadi it's honestly, it's about understanding yourself, and life is a journey of understanding yourself. Jadi don't be too hard on yourself, and know that your mental health do come first. Karena if you don't take care of your mental health, belum tentu results-nya tuh like the results won't be as good as you want it to be if you just push yourself without thinking about, you know, your mental health and taking care of yourself.
Ya, bener banget sih. Kayak aku setuju banget yang kayak pas kakak bilang kalau misalnya stres itu tuh juga bisa push kita sebenarnya. Kayak it can push ourselves into the limit, tapi jangan ada boundariesnya juga, kayak ada limitnya juga. Kayak sometimes you also have to take care with your mental health.
Exactly.
Jangan sampai kita benar-benar overwhelmed and then we can't do anything. Jadi kayak emang ada levelnya. Dan kayaknya setiap orang tuh punya stress level yang berbeda-beda juga gak sih Kak? Jadi we have to figure out like kita tuh maximize-nya di mana. Jadi kita nggak bisa samain semua orang tuh stress level. Yeah, it's very true.
Iya.
Ya, dan juga yang tadi Kak Amanda juga sempat mention kalau misalnya quantitative and qualitative skills itu tuh sangat important sekarang ini. So yeah, it's very important for us. Terus, oh ya Kak, sekarang kita udah punya 22 question di Slido. Wow, banyak banget yang mau nanya. So, maybe before I read another question, kalau ada yang mau nanya langsung juga bisa ya. Jadi langsung raise hand aja di Zoom, nanti aku bisa panggil namanya. Oke. Kita coba bacain lagi yang dari Slido. Jadi ini ada dari Catherine. Dia nanya, Kak, jadi does being a public figure affect your work as an analyst?
It's funny, karena not a lot of people know that kayak, nggak sih, salah, that's wrong. Aside from my team, sebenarnya nggak banyak orang tahu aku tuh siapa, or you know, or who my sister is, etc. Jadi jadi when I worked like in my team, everyone sort of santai-santai aja. Tapi kadang-kadang when I talk to people from other teams, nanti lo tuh ternyata gini. And I was like, yeah. And then kayak, biasanya tuh kita udah kerja lama dulu baru mereka tahu. Jadi I guess waktu mereka, jadi akhirnya mereka, I guess once they find out, mereka tuh lebih kayak, okay, gitu. Karena mereka udah pernah kerja sama aku, udah kenal aku dulu, gitu. Waktu in my team, I think kayak my boss pernah bilang ke aku, you know, on Instagram, you just seem so like, kayak serious, you know, and like kayak moody, gitu. Tapi in real life, you're so like weird and funny. So, enggak sih, it doesn't really affect me in any way. And if anything, I'm very lucky that my job is also that I work in a startup. Sebenarnya startup allows for that flexibility. Just as long as I don't do anything yang kayak I think akan ngejelekin the company's name, which I would never do anyway, just generally, regardless of whether or not I'm a public speaker, they don't have an issue with that. Gitu sih.
Yeah. Maybe we can go to another question. Maybe Kashifa, can you help me to share screen so Amanda also can read the question?
Oke, bentar ya.
Oh ya guys, nanti juga pas di akhir kita bakal pilih 2 question yang paling interest. Nanti Kak Amanda juga bakal bantu kita untuk milih. Dan kalian bakal dapat prize.
Prize-nya apa gitu?
Rahasia, nanti kita bakal kasih dari kita. Ya. Oh, ini maybe ada satu question. dari Anonymous, Kak pernah ngerasa unmotivated gak? Kalau pernah, gimana cara ngatasinnya?
Oh, that is a good question.
Yeah, right. It's very
Contender
good.
gitu. Pernah lose motivation for sure. Specifically kalau aku tuh burnout. What is burnout? Essentially burnout to a point where you work so hard that tapi the quality of work diminishes because you work too hard. And when you reach that point of burnout, you become demotivated karena partially karena kamu ngerasa no matter how hard you work, hasilnya kok nggak sebagus itu, like as high as you wanted it to be, but also at the same time unmotivated karena you've lost sort of that that drive, if that makes sense. And like burnouts happen more so during this work from home period. Karena tuh aku orangnya extroverted banget kan. And so not being around my friends when I work, like my colleagues when I work, is really hard. Because aku tuh di kamar aku sendiri, with like screens, that's all kayak not really, so it's easier for me to become burnout actually during work from home. Tapi how I coped with it was I learned that if I have a system, if I have a system that I follow, I won't be as burnout to work and I will continuously be motivated. First of all, as I said before, aku tuh orangnya very goal oriented. Jadi like achieving something, I get endorphins. Jadi because I know that, aku tuh bikin checklist in the morning of what I need to do and what I need to finish. Jadi when I finish it, I'm like, yay, I finished it. Gitu sih. So when I tick it, I'm like, yeah. Gitu sih. So that's one way to keep myself motivated. Karena that's because that's the kind of person I am juga sih sebenarnya. And then another way is if I'm feeling kayak capek, mentally tired, I also give myself kayak 20 minutes to sort of have a break, to sort of like watch a funny YouTube video or something to keep myself sane sebenarnya. Or I'll call my friend, my boyfriend gitu-gitu, and like, to sort of cool down. Tapi again, for everyone, it's a bit different kan. For some people, mungkin when they don't feel motivated, I guess it really depends on what it is about. If you're not motivated karena you feel like you're not excelling in it, sometimes mungkin you need to find and if you want to learn that thing, it's about finding an alternative way and understanding how you learn. And that would motivate you if you, I guess, reach your goal then. So when I was in school, I realized that I was an auditory listener. What does that mean? I learned better listening. Jadi what I ended up doing was I would ask permission dari guru aku to record the class. Karena I understand better rather than taking notes. Gitu sih. So that's one way, and that's how I kept myself motivated in class, because class can be a bit boring.
Yeah, true.
Jadi the way that I do that, it's finding out like what is the best way that I can learn. For some people tuh kayak harus nulis di kertas when you take notes instead of like typing. Jadi yeah, it's also about understanding yourself sih sebenarnya.
Yeah.
Knowing your limits, understanding how you can achieve that.
Ya, bener banget sih Kak. Kayak yang tadi Kakak juga sempat mention yang kayak it's very answering our question. Yang kayak bikin list, abis itu kita misalnya we already reach our goal and then we, for example, we scratch it. It's very like ada satisfaction-nya gak sih? Apalagi kayak itu malah motivasi kita untuk ayo kita kerja lagi, right?
Yeah.
Ya, ini ada beberapa pertanyaan lagi Kak yang masuk. Maybe aku langsung pilih aja kali ya. So, there is one question. It's very interesting question. So, when you are in university, it's very hard to find friends kan? Karena culture-nya juga beda-beda, ada dari negara-negara berbeda. Itu tuh gimana caranya gitu untuk bisa gampang cari teman yang emang sesuai dengan culture yang berbeda?
I think it depends sih. Kayak, I think the biggest thing is about involving yourself in organizations. Karena waktu aku kuliah, I was involved in a lot, well, not a lot, but like a couple of organizations that actually helped me make friends or get closer to the people in my course. Karena kita ngelakuin itu bareng. So I did ukulele club for a bit. I was in the tech society. And I was I was part of Anaptis, which is a sustainable sort of NGO type thing, sustainable entrepreneurship. That's what it was called. And yeah, so like from there, aku tuh ketemu banyak orang because and then I build friendship from there. Karena kan kalau kita di kelas, it's harder to make friends sometimes in class karena kan you're learning, you're studying, and you're not really sure bahwa orang itu tuh have the same interest as you. Tapi kalau ikut organization, etc., you at least know ada satu interest yang you guys are aligned in, ya kan?
Bener banget.
Gitu sih. So yeah, I say join organizations, join PPI, karena that's the best way to get free food from the embassy once a month.
Ya, bener banget sih. Terus kalau misalnya kita join societies gitu kan emang interestnya sama, jadi kayak lebih gampang untuk connect-nya. Terus kayak ya lebih gampang untuk lebih gampang untuk
berteman kan.
Ya,
obrolannya kita tahu kita ada satu passion yang sama. Kalau satu angkatan di kelas tuh kadang-kadang susah karena ya kadang-kadang for some people ya mereka milih jurusan itu karena belum tentu karena mereka belum tentu mereka suka atau ada passion or whatever. Kadang-kadang itu cuma karena it looks interesting, you know. Yeah, and you can only talk about jurusan kamu for so long, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh ya, mungkin bagi yang nggak tahu, PPI itu tuh perhimpunan buat mahasiswa Indonesia kalau misalnya kuliah di luar negeri gitu.
Perhimpunan pelajar Indonesia.
Yeah. Perhimpunan pelajar Indonesia. Yes.
Yeah.
Oke. Oh, ini ada satu pertanyaan dari Kak Matahari. Maybe Kak Matahari mau nanya langsung ke Kak Amanda.
Hi.
Oh ya.
Hi. I actually forgot my question, sorry.
That's okay.
So a little background. So I went to a public school here in Jakarta, and I was an IPS major, and then I switched to science in uni. And like for me, knowing what I know now, if I can go back, I actually would like change. I would major in IPA, and I was wondering, like, how about you? Like, you said that you took a lot of humanities class, and then you couldn't major in CS because of that. But I was wondering, like, knowing what you know now, like about your major and everything, if you could go back to your high school self, would you change that, and like, or not, and why?
That's a good question. Because honestly, if I can change that, knowing what I know now. So here's the thing. I think a part of me still wishes I took computer science. So part of me is like, yeah, for sure, you know. But a part of me also knows that actually the course that I'm in allows me to have the balance between quantitative and qualitative that actually made me excel at work and like just generally actually. So I guess it really depends. Also because the course that I took is very relevant now, kan? Especially with work from home, which is essentially kayak kalau emang kita ngomongin like kayak waktu aku kuliah, this would be a case study for my uni. You know what I mean? So I think I think I learned a lot, and it has allowed me to sort of see things differently in comparison to my colleagues that sort of helped with my career progression. So I mean, a part of me, yes, but a part of me is also no, because it made me like it made me reach this point where I am now, where I like where I am now, I guess. Yeah, and yeah, that's a toughie. I don't know, I'm struggling. Karena I personally kayak kadang-kadang aku ngerasa iya nih harusnya gini-gini, but then again, like I don't know who I'd be, and I guess that's no, sorry, I don't know if I answered your question well. It's a very hard question.
Oh
Yeah, but I mean,
but thank you though for your answer. I mean I kind of get what you mean. Like sometimes
Yeah, right?
I feel like kayak rada nyesel juga sih, like I kind of like quote unquote I wasted 3 years studying like econ and geography. Abis itu tahu you kayak college I learned computer science, but then again kayak I probably wouldn't be where I am if itu.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I'm gonna repeat this again. Having qualitative skills is very important. And in a quantitative field. And the reason why I say this is because when you're and I think everyone in girls like in this organization essentially has that balance of quantitative and qualitative, you know what I mean? And that's very important. Because in STEM, a lot of people are quantitative. Let's just say everyone learns quantitative, like most people in STEM learn quant, and therefore because they learned quant, they have the quantitative analytical skills. But what makes you stand out in this industry is having that qualitative skill balance. Good to see. Yes. So I guess the answer is do regret it, but you know what? I learned a lot.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you for answering.
Thank you, for the question. Hopefully yeah, I'm not showing great qualitative skills here. I'm just awkward now. Sorry.
No. Okay. Maybe waktunya juga udah mau selesai. Maybe ada yang mau nanya lagi langsung. Kalau enggak, kita bakal pilih dari Slido for the last question. Is there anyone want to ask directly to Kak Amanda? Jarang-jarang loh. Bisa nanya langsung ke Kak Amanda.
Aku yang malu.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay, so I actually asked in Slido, but I'll just repeat it. Yes. So I'm really interested in the career that we take as a corporate analyst. And so I wanted to ask what are the ins and outs of being one in Gojek, and what makes this career stand out more than other careers related to computer science?
Okay, that's an interesting question. Jadi sebenarnya corporate strategy, like the way that I sort of see it is it's a bit like consulting in a sense that you do a lot of high level analysis and regarding the business, and you do a lot of budgeting and you do a lot of reporting. I guess it's a bit it's a lot like consulting. Tapi bedanya consulting, you're working for a client. When you're when you work for the company you work in, you're an internal consultant, so your client is only one, which I feel is dependent on your personality type. You might like it and you might not. Jadi for people who sort of likes constant new projects, I feel like you might like working as a consultant because you're working for different clients. But if you like growing, like with one company, as in because and seeing the impact straight on, you might want to be an internal an internal consultant, so like a corporate strategist, because what you do, you see implemented. If that makes sense, you know what I mean? And it depends on your personality type. If you want different projects, if you want to always a change of environment, that would maybe you would want to work in a consulting firm. But if you like seeing if you like more, I would say a more hands-on and end-to-end process, then you would working internally, in places like corporate strategy and corporate development. And that doesn't mean kayak your task nggak berubah juga ya. Because when I started, I was doing a lot of like client and investor relations, and then now I'm sort of more towards the business side. You know what I mean? So juga the scope of work tuh juga banyak, and I guess it really depends on what you're, you know what I mean, what you're interested in. Yeah, the ins and outs, I would say, I think, can I clarify what you mean by ins and out?
Sorry, what did you say?
Can I clarify, what do you mean by ins and out?
Oh, just like anything in general that like people might not be aware about corporate analysts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What people might not be aware about corporate,
before
like corporate
pursuing.
strategy analyst. Yeah, I guess not people like corporate. I don't know how new corporate strategy is as a term, tapi I think itu sih sebenarnya your work scope is basically similar like a consultant, except you know who you're working for. I guess in terms of how that sort of shifted from the course that I wanted to do is essentially called computer science. I think there's a lot of branches to computer science. You can either do more of like the creative. I call it creative because I think when you're creating like codes for softwares or applications, back end or front end, there's a lot of creativity involved in that. And you can also go more on the BI sort of machine learning, AI, data science side of it. And then you have, for some people who loves the hardware side of it, you know what I mean? So I think there's a spectrum when it comes to computer science. Because of the course that I took, because it was also, it's more of quantitative analytics for the purposes of research, my realm to lebih dekat ke the data processing sort of side of computer science. I think specifically untuk aku, they actually hired me because I had BI experience. I had business intelligence experience. So I guess from that point, actually, my background in sort of data processing and I guess BigQuery, like SQL and stuff like that, was really beneficial to them. So I guess sebenarnya it's not really a far of a jump because my programming skills is very highly utilized in my current position.
Thank you so much. And also,
thank you for the question. Sorry?
You're from Atari, right?
Yeah, I was from Atari. Oh my God! Which one? Mentari Jian or
Yeah.
Ah, okay. I went there like a few years ago. Sorry, tangent. I went there like a few years ago, and it's so big now.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but Atari.
Okay, thank you Zara.
Thank you.
Jadi Kak, ini ada satu orang lagi yang mau nanya langsung. Namanya Natasha. So yeah, Natasha, you can ask question.
Hi, Pat. Thank you for the opportunity. Okay, so I did ask this question in Slido too, but this question is basically saying that, first off, I'd like to appreciate how honest you are about like your mental health struggles. So thank you for that. And continuing on from that, I guess like as someone who has struggled with mental health, my question is how vulnerable can you be and how vulnerable are you in a field that's maybe like more competitive like STEM versus maybe in a field that's more humanities related, if that makes sense. Yeah, so that's my question. Yeah, how vulnerable can you be with your mental health struggles, I suppose?
Okay. I think, thank you for the question, first of all. And I want to say thank you for the compliment. I think everyone should be more, I think we like the reason why I do this is because I want to destigmatize this whole sort of like mental illness or like mental health. You know what I mean? Even though mental health is for everyone, you know, you have to take care of your mental health. So I think in terms of vulnerability, I've been very lucky in both my in both the previous like my current and previous jobs. Like they've accepted me. So when they asked me, like, so in an interview, biasanya tuh orang tuh suka nanya, what's your strengths and weaknesses? And I would always say, I don't necessarily think it's a weakness, but I think it's for sure a challenge that I have anxiety, you know what I mean? And in both my jobs, they're very accepting. And if anything, like my bosses would be very like, if I need time off, if I'm having like struggles, they would actually understand, you know what I mean? I'm very lucky in that sense. In terms of being vulnerable in such a competitive field, I think in terms of competition and feeling like there is competition, I think it's not so much a vulnerability based on my mental health, but just because of the current condition of the industry. I think, if anything, because we know that women occupy 26% of the STEM industry, of the STEM careers, it's sort of a mindset thing. The competition comes from the mindset that there is that, the position that women can take in this industry is only that percentage. And so it's very unhealthy for sure. Karena you end up fostering competition with specifically female counterparts, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Which is
and
sad.
That's which is really sad. Karena sebenarnya you're supposed to feel like, oh my God, like join me, come on. But like, like when I first started, there was sort of this feeling of like threat. You know what I mean? And that is a real, like, so that doesn't come from like my mental health, like the issue with my anxiety, but actually that comes from sort of this idea, this notion that like in STEM, there can only be 26% of women, gitu, and that's so unhealthy. And yeah, you know, and it's something that I have, like, that I'm actively still unlearning, karena it's so ingrained in me in a sense that like when, like with having people underestimate my skills, you know, as a woman in this industry, I feel like I need to show myself. Tapi because I feel like, you know what I mean? So I'm actively unlearning that as women in this industry, we need to support each other instead of trying to bring the other person down. Thankfully, thankfully, this is something that I realized early on that I had a problem with, you know? So I didn't create damage to other people juga, but it's for sure something that I think I have to admit to myself that I sometimes struggle with, you know? Karena I think like it's hard to admit that you have a flaw that's actually so like that is based on toxic like ideologies, toxic sort of like unfeminist ideologies. And that's why I really try, like this is why I love these kinds of organizations, because these organizations help support women and like girls to sort of be a bigger sort of influence in this industry yang sebenarnya I feel like it's very male heavy, you know? Gitu sih.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I think it's a really good reminder.
Yeah, it's a good reminder for sure. Yeah, I realized this. I realized that like I'm more I realized this, that like at one point I was more competitive with my female counterparts than I am with my male, as if I'm not threatened by the male counterparts. But I should be. It shouldn't matter whether or not they're male and female, right? Tapi it's because I felt like there is a quota where women, like there's a quota for women. You know what I mean? Which I feel like it shouldn't be the way that we see it. We should actually see it as, let's like, you know what I mean? Let's have a fair sort of like industry.
Yeah. So yeah, we have to support each other, guys. Kayak yang penting. Terus believe in yourself and prove them that they are wrong. Yeah. Thank you, Kak Natasha, for your question.
Thank you ya.
So yeah, pertanyaannya masih banyak banget nih Kak. Tapi karena our time is very limited, terus kayaknya almost all of the question juga udah dibahas sama Kak Amanda. So sebelum kita tutup today's talk, maybe do you have like any additional remarks you would like to give to the rookies, maybe especially about tips and tricks going to university? Yeah.
Okay, I think tip number 1, do not be afraid to ask questions. When masuk kuliah itu sama kayak masuk kerja, where you always feel like after you graduate as a senior in high school, you feel like, oh, I know my shit. Sorry, I know everything. Tapi what you realize is, and after you graduate university, you feel like you should know everything once you start work. Tapi ternyata no one expects you to know anything, honestly. Like when you come in like as a fresh grad or as a freshman in university, you're new. So no teacher or no bosses are actually expecting you to know everything straight off the bat. So tipsnya adalah don't be afraid to ask questions if you don't know what to do or like you don't understand. Karena that's how you grow. Secondly, jangan sampai minder. Karena waktu aku mulai kuliah tuh aku awalnya minder karena aku ngerasa oh my god kayak people around me are so much smarter. Tapi sebenarnya kan kalau kita masuk universitas, we went through the same exams, we went through the same essays or whatever. So sebenarnya the people around you are actually kayak at almost the same intelligence level as you. So jangan minder karena itu. Plus, when they come into university, they know as much as you. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You guys are all on the same boat. Jadi jangan sampai minder aja sih gitu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you banget Kak. Ya, jadi buat wrap up aja. Jadi yang pertama itu jangan takut untuk bertanya. Apalagi kalau misalnya kita emang mau grow, kita harus benar-benar cari tahu, nanya-nanya orang apa yang kita emang kepengen tahu. Kedua, kita jangan sampai minder karena semuanya emang in the same level. So yeah, it's okay to ask any question. So ya benar banget. Terima kasih banget Kak Amanda.
Thank you for having me.
Ya, kayak aku inspire banget sih, dan aku yakin yang lain juga terinspire dengan apa yang Kak Amanda telah bagikan hari ini. Thank you very much. Maybe before we close the session, we're gonna take a photo session.
Okay.
Maybe
Kasab can help to take a photo.
Yes, everyone please turn on your camera if you haven't already, karena aku bakal screenshot sampai semua participants udah pada nyalain.
Okay. Aku sekalian mau bilang aja, I know you guys have a lot of questions. I think I'm gonna ask the Generation Girl team can you guys share it with me? And I might answer some of them on Insta Story, or maybe I can put it on Generation Girl's Insta Story as well. Terserah kalian.
Yes, sure. Thank you so much, Kak.
No worries.
Oke, kita mulai aja ya. So everyone get ready. 3, 2, 1, cheese. Cheese. Aku harus slide 3 slide nih.
Banyak banget soalnya.
Oke, lagi. One more time. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you Kak Amanda, keren banget.
Sorry again for the technical difficulties, and kalau emang aku tadi nggak begitu ngejawab pertanyaannya, so sorry.
No, it's very menjawab Kak. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
You need to be back at 1:30. Kalian nanti ada kelas jam 12.30, maaf. Bukan jam
12.30, Kak.
No, honestly, I just want to say to the Generation Girl team that like